This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
It is probably worth noting, as we could have even when we were chatting with Sean Salisbury, that according to the daily injury report, Christian Darrisaw is listed as DNP for his knee. This is not being classified as a planned rest. Remember, there's some days where he missed practice where he said, well, this is all part of the master plan. In this case, it is for the knee. So, again, what does that mean for Sunday? Maybe nothing. But I think it's further indication that reality is setting in on Darrisaw. And this, again, is not an accusation that he's soft in any way, shape, or form. But as he's emphasized, and I think we're learning the hard way just on the basis of when he's available and when he isn't on game day, this ain't going to be linear where he's back and he's back all the time. It's going to be an every week kind of process of figuring out whether he's going to be available or not, correct? I mean, that's, I think, what keeps being
it's a saga
reinforced. It has been turned into a saga that this team obviously can ill afford at this point. We've all talked about the injury issues along the line of scrimmage. Mark Craig had a terrific piece about Daniel Jones and his success in Indianapolis that you can say that a lot of that success is related to the fact that the Colts have had greater stability along its offensive line front, despite losing two offensive linemen to us.
Yeah, we took them.
Than any team in the league. And I think Jones has been sacked. What was the number? Was it 7 times? It was a very low number. We were on, let's put it this way, they were on one end, we were on another. And it always ends up being part of the story, no matter who's out there and how much pain they happen to be in.
Daniel Jones' labrum is fine, in other words, is what you're saying.
That's exactly correct.
His labrum hasn't been injured.
I'm actually surprised Salisbury went, I really fully expected Salisbury to say, no, you don't get it, Dan. It's the code. He's going to play. The coach thinks he's the guy who can keep playing. So he surprised me a little bit. But I think it was, what happens is you watch it and you go, no, put him on the bench.
Right.
Stop it.
Well, I think the thing we haven't talked about enough, and you've brought it up a little bit, and Salisbury just did, he wasn't helping you. Like, if you want to be that cynical, like he wasn't giving you the best chance to win.
Cold. Yes.
Forget about his own personal health and whether or not his arm was going to fall off. If you were actually trying to win the game, which is what he also told PA, right, a couple of days ago during X's and O's, saying, we always think we're going to win. We always feel like we can do it. Not with the quarterback in the condition that he was in. No. That wasn't going to work.
Across the board.
We'll do a couple. We can do 2 segments.
Yeah, we can even extend it. Sure. We got Mike Conley at 4:30.
Inbox.
Don't worry, hockey fans. Don't worry, Fallness. Well, actually, Fallness should worry. Russo Radio from the arena formerly known as the X.
Yep.
If the audio works. Anyway.
And we tested that out about 3:30.
Oh, nice.
It's always good when it's just Fallness.
Yeah.
So when you try to add elements in haphazard fashion, that's what happens. So we're good. Dear Dr. Dan, I was a warning sign for things to come.
Ooh.
Just a few days earlier, Minnesota sports fans witnessed their team win one of the greatest games ever played that gave them a world championship. But at what cost? A few days later, I showed up, followed by a wide left, decades of baseball losses, a B-balls basketball injury, throwing across the body. Ooh. The list goes on and on. Everything comes at a cost, Dr. Dan. Have Minnesota sports fans finally paid enough? The 1991 H Blizzard.
So it's the curse of the H Blizzard?
We've never called it that before, have we? I think Clayton, one of our regulars, I think Clayton is onto something here.
Everybody's looking for the perfect curse
when
it
did it
comes
start?
to these. Yeah, that's a great point.
3 days after Jack Morris.
The curse of the Halloween blizzard.
The Halloween blizzard was dumped upon us.
Yeah.
And we haven't won a men's championship since.
We've never been the same.
Never.
You can argue we've never frontally, totally recovered. That's a good one. I like that. Good theory. The curse of the... So how do you reverse the curse of the Halloween blizzard, though? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Ian Leonard was listening earlier. He texted in. He listens to the show every day. Fox 9 weather genius.
Right.
Maybe he has some ideas.
He might have some ideas there.
As the resident meteorologist.
Some sort of a ritual, some sort of a ceremony. We can't, in Chicago was we're going to sacrifice a goat, or because the Billy Goat curse,
right, with
the Cubs, or allow a goat to take a seat as he wasn't allowed back in what year I think was it, 1945. This case, though, it's trickier because it's weather, right?
I know.
It blows all over the place.
It's wind.
Yeah, and it's wind.
We're going to straddle because we have Conley at the bottom of the hour.
Okay.
So let's get ahead of it. And the Fan and Two Men and a Junk Truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. You can enter the keyword deposit at KFAN.com. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword deposit.
Try to get maybe one or two more inbox items in before Mike Conley joins us. Russo at 5.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Dear Dr. Dan, I know you'd love to see me back behind the bench at XL. They changed the name? Well, it's hard to keep up on what happens in Mini from the comfort of my lazy boy down here in sunny South Florida. Nevertheless, I'm flattered you'd think I'd be able to pull the boys out of the first round of the playoffs, but don't forget, I was only able to do that one time in my 8 seasons as coach. The grass is always greener, eh? Well, the grass is always green down here in Florida, so I think I'll stay here. Tell the boys to play hard. Signed, Jay Lemaire.
Well, it is possible that... it becomes easy to romanticize what he did and the fact that there was only the one run. But Dr. Dan would like to add, in fairness to Jay Lemaire, they were an expansion team. We're supposed to be long past that excuse being viable, right? So in the early years, you tend to grade on a more generous curve, right? Well, except if you're Vegas, I guess. That's a different issue.
Yeah. But they cheated. They got to take all our players.
That's true. They did. We didn't have those advantages. That's for sure. I'm just telling you that if you have, in your history, one time where you reached the conference finals and he happened to be the coach there, I'm going to let him probably coach another 12 years just on the basis of the desert that we're in outside of that particular, still incredibly memorable season. I remember it like it was yesterday.
For Dr. Dan's
somebody's saying, wondering if what we need then to break the Halloween blizzard curse is another Halloween blizzard. I don't think we're going to get that this year because I don't think it's cold enough.
Doesn't seem like it.
But does it have to be a Halloween blizzard? Could it be
I think
like
it does.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Well, so we're not going to be able to break, by that logic, we're not going to be able to break the curse until the earliest we could break it would be next October of 2026.
So should we just trade Julius Randle now?
Get value.
Should we trade Justin Jefferson now?
All of them. Anthony.
Man.
Yeah, the whole bit.
Dear Dr. Dan, the view of Chavez Ravine from D Stadium was tremendous. Heading back to Toronto now to finish the job and get a ring. Hope all is well in Twins territory. Say hello to my family, L. Varland. One of us.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this, that once it was fairly clear that we were not going to get within a sniff of the postseason again, that all you could do if you wanted to pay attention to baseball at all was try to stay connected to all the players who we've traded away or moved on from. And L. Varland is in that classification. Every team ends up with players who have some success someplace else. Maybe we just feel it more because we've had so little postseason success to discuss. And again, here's where we're historic. Here's where we kind of deserve the curse, if indeed it is the Halloween blizzard of 1991 curse, is that we rewarded the one team that broke on a very low level, the Twins losing streak curse.
That's true.
And immediately said, here's your reward for doing something that you guys haven't done in 20 years. We're slashing the payroll. $30 million. Congratulations. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't get the message, at the next trade deadline, in a season in which we still surprised people and we're doing incredibly well, we said, not going to work. We're not going to really add anybody that might be at all helpful. So that, you could argue, is a team that pretty much deserves whatever curse we might be participating or performing under.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Maybe the curse, you reverse the curse with a Halloween La Nina. So what you need is the tropical opposite of the blizzard, of the Halloween blizzard.
Well, I know my kids would appreciate that.
I think we all would, but I don't think this year I don't think we got that going for us either, because tomorrow's the last day of October.
It is. Dear Dr. Dan, I can assure you that our Minnesota audit team is working on the B. Shelton hiring. We have a great track record, as I'm sure you're aware. And why not just see if the Gov can influence professional sports like they're trying to do in Louisiana? It did seem fishy to us in hiring a manager who, in his fifth year of a complete teardown, only won one more game than our beloved M Twins. We're on it, Dr. Dan. T. Walls.
Doesn't he have enough problems right now? I mean, don't we have another fraud crisis to concern ourselves with?
I think we do. Well, we just shut down like 14 companies.
We actually shut some. That's progress, is it not? For the moment. We'll see how long it lasts, and we'll see what we're still missing. That is an interesting wrinkle we discussed yesterday. Would we have the stomach to actually try to involve our politicians in fixing our sports teams? Well, the college level, they can probably get away with it in Louisiana because it's the state, it's a state school, deal. It's LSU. I don't think legally you can do that, although you could argue that the politicians could do no worse than most of the suits and the chief brain wizards have done with several men's sports teams the last 20 years.
It's time for Dr. Dan's
last one here.
Inbox.
Oh, we get letters.
So lead into our 4:30 guests.
Every day.
Dear Dr. Dan, who are you? My backcourt teammate A. Reeves asked me to send this. I'm not sure who you are, but after last night's game, we're thinking of using the R. Palinka jacket to put on a player after they make a game-winning shot, a la baseball after they hit dongs. What do you think, Dr. Dan? Jay Laravia.
I missed this whole story.
The A. Edwards thing?
Last night, the A. Edwards thing, where... It was at first that somebody else...
A fan
basically asked, who's
12?
This number 12? And by the way, for the game, if I have the box score right, number 12 was 10 for 11 from the field.
Unconscious.
27 points.
Yeah.
8 rebounds.
He killed
and
us.
5 of 6 from 3.
He killed us.
So the fan says, who is this guy? And Anthony Edwards says, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. You can't make up the whole story.
Funny.
I got to tell you, I don't know much about him. Maybe our 4:30 guest knows something about him. They certainly know something about him now. It is a Dr. Dan reminder, though, that if you're not nose to the grindstone about any league, every once in a while you'll find out there's some talent out there. Not necessarily saying Hall of Fame talent or superstar talent, but there's some players you never heard of that when you watch him, you go, that's kind of a good player. He's kind of intriguing.
It's hard to make the NBA.
We need a couple of those guys to do the same, reverse that, and do it someplace else where they ask us the same questions. Players that maybe they've never heard of or rarely heard of. We need some of that juice that sort of performance recommends. And quite frankly, was probably as good as the Reeves shot was late.
Yep.
He probably was the key to the ball game, right? Without that contribution, there's no chance for Austin Reeves to win the game late.
If a player that no one has ever heard of is playing that hard, like every Laker was last night,
that's what I want to talk about with M. Conley. All right, let's make this the pause. Thanks for the texts. Thanks for the emails. Russo at 5. Wolves point guard Mike Conley is next.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen joins Dan Barreiro next. And
we had a hard time making them miss shots for a while. I mean, I thought when we did, we had a hard time like finishing possessions. I thought that was the story of the first half was, fouls, offensive rebounds, and kind of shot contests that were just not quite there. And they saw the ball go in, and then they got hot. That's how it happens in our league. I thought we got to make them miss a little bit more, and then, so.
Chris Finch, after last night's very disappointing Wolves loss to the Los Angeles Lakers. Mike Conley, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Mike, thanks as always for the time. I'm wondering, my concern, you've been around a long time. There's a danger of ever overreacting to any single game. I get that. You got to take the long view. On the other hand, I worry, they add up. And so I worry that that's going to be one of those games when you guys look back, if you don't end up getting the seed you want, where you go, that's one of those games that you got to win the game. Despite the fact we're missing people, they're missing a lot of people as well. How did you process what took place last night?
I think for us at this point of the season, we process it as, you lose a really tough game, a tough night in which one that we thought that we should have been able to win. And I don't think we think of it too much about, not too far ahead, as far as seeding is concerned or anything like that. But we are, at that point of the year where you're trying to establish yourself as who you are, your identity, and the positives that you can bring into the season. And tonight could have been, last night could have been one of those games that, really could have been a good one for us to kind of propel us in the right direction. And for about 6 minutes of that game or 10 minutes of that game, I thought it was. And then, the outcome just wasn't what we wanted. And so looking forward, we just got to, figure out, how we're going to sustain a level of play that we want to, have for the rest of the season, and then we'll worry about where we end up at the end of the year.
We have not, I don't think, talked since the regular season began. You came in right before it, and obviously, maybe you knew something was coming, and it was just not something to make a big issue of because maybe you understood it. I don't know. But I was a little surprised when I heard the decision was made for that opening game that, okay, we're making a change to the lineup. And part of the way Finchie talked about it was, I can manage Mike's minutes more easily that way if he's coming off the bench. I'm wondering if you were at all shocked, taken aback, is it something you had a conversation with the coach about to sort of, so you had a better understanding of it? Take us back to when all that stuff kind of changed.
Yeah, we had spoke about it maybe, I would say probably 4 days before the game, for opening night game. And he had mentioned, that I'd be coming off the bench and, how, to be, like you said, it'd be easier to manage minutes and benefit lineups and, give guys, better chance to run with different groups. So, like I told him then, I was like, man, I'm all for whatever, helps us. And, I'm sure it'll be just, perfect for our team. And, but, like I said, I was surprised at the moment because there wasn't any kind of, sign, in the preseason before that necessarily. So, but, like I said, I adapt, really, really fast and just trying to get used to that role as we go further in the season.
There are players who seem to be very good at mastering the art of coming in off of the bench, but it is a different way to play, right? And there are, I think, some players who, through much of their careers, they've been starters. It's a challenge because I'll just ask you, does it feel different? Do you think there are some challenges to getting into your rhythm if you're not playing from the start of a game, given that's sort of been, the role that you've had for so long?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's especially you get older, I think it gets a little different. You warm up for a game, and then you go right back to sitting down, and you have to warm up again to get back in, for your first time out in the court, whenever you get called in the game. So it's just a different routine, a different warm up pregame. All that stuff is all things you just gotta get used to. And there's challenges, there's pros, there's cons with everything, and those are all things that I'm just adjusting to at the moment and trying to get used to. And and seeing how it goes and how it'll play out going forward, I'm sure, like I said, it'll be perfectly fine. And
Sure.
it's just something that as a guy who's played, majority of his career, starting and getting kind of lumped into that routine of how you manage yourself going in and out of games, and from that standpoint, it's just you kind of have to switch that a little bit and figure out how you can be effective in the minutes you do get.
How would you evaluate the way you have played in this new role thus far?
I think I have not been myself per se, especially early the first few games. But I think as the last couple of games, I've gotten to play a little bit. The minutes have been a little bit more, obviously, with the injuries, but you get a little bit better rhythm. You get a little bit better flow of the game. But the first few games were a little off. You play probably 10 to 15 minutes in those games, and something that I'm not used to necessarily, being in that kind of situation and role. So, like I said, it's something that I'm definitely welcoming to, and I, love the opportunity to help the team however I do, and going forward, I think it'll get better as I get adjusted to it.
Does Finchy? I assume Finchy's asking that he wants the same things from you that he always does, right? That doesn't change, or does it at all? Depending on who else you're coming on the court with, what do you think they're looking for from you now, as opposed to when you're starting?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the same things. Kind of managing the game, be more aggressive if I have opportunities. Have the ball in my hand and make plays for guys and score, do whatever I have to do to, help, maintain a lead, build a lead, or bring back a lead, or whatever we're doing at that time. And like I said, it's just doing it in a shorter time frame and with a different unit of guys. And that's the big thing for all of us is, we got a group of guys now adjusting to basically playing alongside me alongside them, who we haven't really spent a whole lot of time with the certain five guys at a certain time. So it's an adjustment for all of them as well as it is for me. So it's just something that we're getting used to.
Reeves, you guys make a great comeback and seem to be in position to steal the damn game. And then obviously Reeves scores going down the lane for the game winner. LeBron is obviously out. Luka is out as well. We know Reeves can score. I don't remember, maybe you can refresh my memory, in the series you guys had, I don't remember if he did all that much offensively. I felt like in that series you guys did a good job on him and seemed to go at him, make him work defensively because he's not, considered to be a great defensive player. What is, he's had this emergence with the injuries, I guess. Is he this skilled a scorer? What do you see in Austin Reeves?
Yeah, and he's an amazing player. And I think he's a guy that has been working on his game year after year, and every year he's gotten better. And it's one of those cases where, you're on a team with other guys that are featured before him, and he gets the opportunity to showcase who he is and what he can bring in a role that requires him to be more aggressive, and he's answering the bell. I mean, it's not a surprise to us as competitors against him and what he's capable of doing. You give a guy more opportunities, that kind of guy's going to take advantage of it, and he's done that, and he's a really, really tough cover for most guys, night in, night out. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to kind of add everybody back in when they're healthy.
Ant said famously from the bench last night that he didn't know. So I guess a Wolves fan said, "Who's number 12?" And Ant asked the same question. Did you know who Jake LaRavia was before he finished with 10 for 11 from the floor last night?
Yeah, we knew. So Ant did too. He's not gonna tell you, but we knew who Jake LaRavia was, and I'm sure it was funny little bit for everybody. But no, he was well aware on our scouting report, and he's talented and can do all the things he did. Obviously, we didn't plan on that kind of night coming from him, but it happens when you let people get comfortable, and he's playing in the comfortable zone all game. So it was one of those nights for him.
early frustration we've heard from Finchie has been more about, I think, the defense. There's been some other things that he's been unhappy with, but the defense, I think we talked about this when you came in. The mantra was, all right, we got to try to get back to the defense from a couple of years ago. It doesn't feel like you've gotten there yet. Now, obviously, Anthony Edwards being out has something to do with that because he's such a good two-way player. So what have you seen defensively? And do you subscribe to the theory that 88% of good defense is effort, or do you think it has more to do with executing whatever on a given night your defensive plan is, and you guys haven't done enough of that?
Yeah, I think the majority of defense in general is it's about how much you want it, like how much you compete on the ball, how much you compete off the ball, all these things that you require yourself to just do whatever it takes to get the stop, and the rest, there's obviously a big portion of it that is game plan oriented, the discipline aspect of it, because we can go out there and play hard and pick up full court. If we don't have any kind of direction in what we're doing and why, then it's wasted energy against some of the teams that have elite scoring and playmaking and high IQ players. So for us, it's being able to kind of marry both. Getting back to aggressive style defense, physical, picking up, doing what we do on that end, but also being able to close out the possession smartly without fouling, without giving up, multiple rebounds, second chance opportunities, getting back in transition, eliminating easy opportunities to get people comfortable, in their game. So, something that balance we're trying to strike, and hopefully we can get there as soon as we can.
One of the other challenges I think that your team has going forward is this year, especially with Na being elsewhere, is that you are going to be forced to a certain extent to play at least one or two probably younger players, right, out of necessity as much as anything. And on different nights, it might be different people. It's kind of the way it's played out thus far. And there's that age-old question of whether a team that has high aspirations, which you guys clearly have, can live with, can tolerate some of the mistakes that young players almost, to a certain degree, have to be allowed to play through to get to that better place later in the season. How does Finchie thread that needle?
Yeah, there is that balance as well. We need our young guys. Like, we need them to be ready and to, figure it out as fast as they can. The hardest way to do it is by watching sometimes. You need them out there to learn on the fly. They have to learn through mistakes and be able to fight through it. And I think Finchie's, trying to strike that balance by trying to find, minutes for guys, trying to find different lineups and opportunities. And I think it makes it easier for them if our, say top 5, 6, 7 guys are playing like themselves and doing what we're supposed to do, handling our business as far as leading the team defensively and setting a good blueprint and for those guys. So when they get in the game, those mistakes that will happen, they're not as, elevated or, what I mean? Like, it's not such a, you're not looking at that like, oh man, that was a big possession. We really, really, really needed that one. Now the game might be going either way. Instead, it's frustrating, but yeah, we know it's going to happen, and let them move forward and keep going because we have a more comfortable lead or more comfortable feeling towards the rest of the game because of the way the other guys are playing. So we're going to rely on them, and we're going to keep trusting them, and we're going to need them.
Well, I chuckle just because, Finchie strikes me as a guy who's pretty impatient. He's got a high standard, and it just there's times where I just feel like if he doesn't feel like he's getting stuff out of the young guy, he ain't going to play him. That it's hard for him to want to extend the rotation. I'm not saying he's Tibbs exactly, but he's got a little of that in him, I think, and that's what's interesting to me to see. Because in his mind, I'm sure he's saying, well, I've got standards, so I don't want to have to tolerate stuff that players need to earn their time. But it's such, Dillingham to me is a good example of this, where he can have some moments where you go, what are you doing? But then you say, well, you got to give him a little bit of rope to see what he can develop into. Legler, I think it was last night on the broadcast, said he thinks the key with Dillingham in his mind is that even though he's a good scorer, obviously, said, look, he's got to do what he did a few times early in his time yesterday, distribute, get into the paint, and get the ball to other people, and that eventually the scoring part will come easily off of that, but that really his next step in development is more getting in to give the ball up. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, when I talk to Rob all the time, it's about, the small things that is going to keep him on the floor and allow him to then, as he continues to develop game by game, show the rest of his game. Like, he doesn't need to be all-world Rob Dillingham every time he steps on the floor. But can you do the top 2 or 3 things that are asked of you from coach's perspective or our team's perspective on what we need you to do on that night or a nightly basis, every time you come on the floor, be consistent with that, and then eventually get that rope to move on to doing other things that we know you can do as well, that we see in practices, or little sparks in games and things like that. And it's hard for him, obviously, because he believes in himself. We all believe in him and want him to succeed immediately. But you still have to, there's still, you got to listen to the coach. You got to follow game plans. You got to do all the things that kind of come with that whole role. And he's done a great job of sticking with it and being focused and locked in every day and working towards, getting himself, more and more playing time.
Wolves veteran Mike Conley, kind enough to join us. A couple more things with him. Russo Radio to talk hockey at the top of the hour. I'm seeing a lot of 50-point games. I feel like a lot of 49, 51, 52-point games. And then when I'm looking at a lot of those games, I'm seeing like 21 for 22 from the free throw line, 18 for 19 from the free throw line, which is good efficiency, which you can appreciate as a great free throw shooter. But I guess what I'm leading towards, are we seeing early in this season more fouls called? Is the game being called tighter to that extent? This often happens, and then it gets loosened up. But what do you see any trends so far in terms of the officiating approach early in the season, Mike?
Yeah, just noticing from those bigger games. I think in those bigger games I've noticed it, not so much technically in our games. I don't think we've had too many guys go to the free throw line that many times, so I haven't really paid too much attention to it. But, I think as a whole, guys are, each year you come in with, the point of emphasis for the NBA and the refs and what they're going to start calling early, and they normally, blow the whistle a lot more early on to try to emphasize those things. And then you get the players who understand those, what's being emphasized, and they're really smart, high IQ, and they, exploit it a lot of times. So, it's something that, kind of happens a lot during the course of, ebbs and flows of years in the NBA, and it'll, work its way into the game. And, by the end of the year, we'll be back being physical and, doing a lot of extra hand checking and stuff that they might not allow right now.
I appreciate the time. Have a good, safe travels on the to the game to Charlotte, which I think is coming up next, and we will talk soon. Thanks, Mike.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate
you. Mike Conley, Timberwolves point guard on the Wolves' disappointing setback last night, 116 to 115. Austin Reeves hits the 12-footer driving to the basket. A terrific play.
It was good.
Very well played. And I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have mattered what kind of defense that the Wolves played in that situation, because as you heard, Conley was very effusive in his praise of the offensive skill that Reeves represents. And of course, the interesting thing will be he's got free reign right now, right? And that's going to obviously change when Lithsome, Luka, and LeBron come back. I don't even know LeBron's supposed to be out a month, right? I'm not sure
About a month, yeah. Luka was like a couple weeks.
Couple weeks. Was he there, by the way? I didn't even notice him. Was he on the bench?
I don't know. I know LeBron was not.
Yeah.
He was at the World Series game a couple of nights ago.
Did I see LeBron has kind of like a Phil Jackson-style chair because of his sciatica where, where it's like, it kind of sits up higher and it's a little more cushiony than everybody else's chair?
I'd say.
Did I see that in L.A.?
Probably. He deserves it.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem with it. I'm just curious because it looked like, I'm wondering if it's literally the Phil Jackson chair Because Phil Jackson, they had it in storage.
It right there, yeah.
Yeah, they had it at Staples. Where, I mean, you're not going to throw that kind of chair away.
It's an expensive chair, probably.
He's got a new book out, by the way, Phil.
He does?
He's got a new book out with our guy Sam Smith, formerly of the Chicago Tribune.
What else did he have to say? He already did 12 rings, didn't he?
I guess this is. I guess the steam on it is there's a lot of Carmelo ripping in it that. They didn't coexist all that well in New York.
Yeah, I alwast forget he was.
Me too.
And why
I
wouldn't
completely forgot.
It was a forgettable time as president of the Knicks.
And then also there was almost the intimation that the league frowned upon or was discouraging his continuing his relationship with Jeannie Buss.
Interesting.
Which I find. Why
is it their business?
Yeah, that one's kind of shaky to me about getting in that business, but I don't know. I'd have to maybe look. These books to get sold, you gotta get some voltage and some juice, and so maybe those are the things that.
Can we get Phil on? That's what I want to know. I'd love to get Phil on.
That'd be great to get Big Chief Triangle on.
He's basically one of us. He's from North Dakota. He should want to come on with us.
He is. How old is Phil Jackson? He's got to be getting up there.
He's in his 70s, probably. Don't you think?
No, he's older than that.
Is he?
Well, I'm going to be 71. He was playing when I was in high school. Wouldn't he be like 8? He's got to be. I've got to be. I'll double check it. I got to believe he's around 80.
Okay.
But we'll find out. Phil Jackson. I think our chance would be good to get Sam Smith.
Yes.
Probably not as good to get.
We had Sam Smith on during The Last Dance, right?
We did. We've had him on over the decades, a decent amount, although it's been a while. We used to have him on a bunch when he was still covering the last I knew, he was like the Bulls historian.
That's right.
Working for the Bulls.
Right.
I don't know if he's still doing that. Any final thoughts on last night's ball game? Because
I really only have one thought. First of all, I know we were having fun with Redick during the playoffs last year because he was all mad about he made a mess of the playoffs, right? He overthought the playoffs, playing my team's on the floor, Norman Dale, just giving him no chance to win. I get he was shorthanded. He's got those dudes playing hard, man. And that's what bugged me last night. I just thought, I was saying to someone earlier today, the Wolves to me feel like, now you have a teenager, so maybe you could know this. They feel like a teenager, and that you never know what you're going to, they're just like moody. Like they play 30 minutes where they don't even look like they like each other. There's dribbling. They're not helping each other out on defense. They're not connected. And then all of a sudden, the ball's flying around all over the place. They're making the extra pass. They're helping the helper. They're guarding everybody. Conley's playing well. He's dropping dimes to Jaden for dunks. Jaden, offensively, by the way, is like the one bright spot of the season. True. But games like last night, just for a team that wants to talk about continuity and being ready for the moment, like just be connected from the go last night. And I know Ant's out, but just go handle that because the Lakers just played harder than
How many other teams in this league, including the Lakers last night, do we see when they have their best or second best player or both out?
A lot.
Actually become more dangerous for the reasons you laid out.
Because they play hard.
They're playing hard and they are playing connected. And that's why, as odd as this sounds, I think it would have been an injustice if the Wolves would have won that game.
I was not bothered that they lost.
It was going to send the wrong message that, like you said, well, we're going to turn it on for 12 minutes and we're going to steal this ball game. I don't think they deserve to be rewarded. I think the basketball god said, we're going to make sure Reeves scores on this last possession and that Finchie's going to call the wrong defense.
Yes.
Because the Wolves do not deserve to win this game.
And there's one guy, and this is what really bothers me about the team, because they all talk about how much they love Mike and they want to win for Mike.
Yes.
And everybody loves Conley. Conley's the one guy that's like grinding his ass off the whole time. And I know he's not playing 40 minutes, but he's battling.
No, he's definitely battling.
And he's trying to rebound.
He's not always playing well.
No.
But he's battling.
But
yes.
Like last night, it's sloppy one-handed passes. It's lazy passes in the post. It's getting beat to loose balls. It's all of that stuff that.
Yep.
So you know me, I'm loath to give the Lakers and even though I like JJ and we've said it for a year, Austin Reeves is the third best option in the NBA. We had a lot of fun with that. It's like the dude's playing really hard, and all the other guys are playing hard too. And it's almost like the Wolves are too cool to do that if they're playing a scrappy underdog team, and that's what bugged me. Because I should remind them, even at 8:30, for people that went, Laker tickets are expensive. There aren't any cheap tickets to go. Even if LeBron and Luke aren't playing, they didn't
even
know
if Jack
that.
Nicholson's not going anymore.
They didn't know that in August when the single games went on sale.
Yep.
It cost a lot of money to go to that game last night, and people should be pissed if they went and watched the first 3 quarters.
Phil Jackson turned 80 years old on September 17. Born in Deer Lodge, Montana.
Oh, Deer Lodge. That sounds like a made-up place. Deer Lodge, Montana? What is this, some kind of fiction novel you just read at Barnes & Noble?
It's possible.
Deer Lodge, Montana?
Yeah. And
That
here's your
sounds
New York
fictional.
Post headline. Phil Jackson blames Carmelo Anthony for drama, or blames Carmelo Anthony drama for failed Knicks tenure. That's probably oversimplified, but I've never loved Carmelo Anthony as much as basketball people think I should. I don't know why. He's always bugged me just a little bit, even though he was undeniably skilled. I don't know. There's just something about him. I always thought he was slightly overrated. No top 5 at 5 today because we go to Russo Radio.
Who tweeted at us 7 minutes ago, hurry, I'm getting lightheaded in Fallness's cave, and then a picture of a cereal milk soft serve candle. So we better get to him, or otherwise we're going to lose him.
Indeed, time to check in with Russo Radio from the historic Kevin Fallness studio, where allegedly all technical issues that had you sounding like you were speaking into a speakerphone last time have indeed been resolved. Is that accurate, Russo Radio?
Yeah, because Guardsy's back on the phone. It's nice
Hello?
to have him back, somebody competent.
Hello?
Sorry.
I'm just messing around. I had to apologize.
You had me. I thought it was like, oh my God.
Good.
It's fading.
That was good. You missed the punchline, too.
Oh, go ahead. Let's start over. Common
Okay,
rewind.
I said it was because Guardsy's back on the clock.
There
It's
it
just
is.
nice to
It's
have
true.
somebody.
You got an adult and a professional here.
So
Yeah.
you're throwing
Well, it was
Blakemore
just-
under the bus. That's not very nice.
Apparently, Fallness was the least responsible of the issues.
Of course he
last
was.
time.
Yeah, of course he was.
Halvey
Yeah.
was like fast asleep.
Right.
Brett apparently didn't feel like it was necessary to tell
Anybody?
Fallness that there was
Yeah.
an issue.
Yeah.
Fallness was just kind of clueless in there, which is, his normal standard. But
It's default.
but this time I don't blame him as much.
What's the scent than the candle?
Cereal milk soft serve.
Well,
It's
that's-
definitely, I will say it's the best scent that he's had ever.
I don't want
in there.
my candle to smell like something I want to eat. Does it?
I don't know.
Does it have to be that exotic?
It is. It does smell like ice cream, and I will say, I don't know if you've been to that. There's a like an ice cream shop on. I think it's Grand's.
Is that in St. Paul?
Yeah, and
I wouldn't know about it. Yeah, I have no
But
knowledge.
it smells
of
like when you walk in there. So
seriously?
it's pretty
Interesting.
good. Yeah, no, it's good. It's definitely of all the Fallness candles, this is by far the best. So good. I'm gonna look it up on Amazon and maybe get a couple.
Well, you could make the argument that right now what Fallness should have is candles that smell really bad, because if he wants to really reflect the odor emanating from your favorite hockey team, let's be honest, that's what it is. We're not sailing along, are we?
No. They've won 3 out of 11 games, so they're certainly not that. And they're playing a team tonight that's got a point streak in 9 straight games. By the way, if you start to lose me, Halvey's just walked into the studio, so there's a good chance that
right,
something's going to get unplugged. But no, they're not playing well. And I remember talking to you before opening night when we were in St. Louis, and you asked me about the season. I just said I was concerned, just because an audible happened right going into training camp where Zuccarello reported hurt, and that obviously was a situation where I think coming into camp we all knew that this team really lacked depth in the top 6 and couldn't really afford losing that right off the hop if Liam Ogren and Danilo Urov didn't show that they were ready right away. And I think they're going to be good players, but they didn't show that they're ready to grasp that right away. And then Nico Sturm gets hurt as well, who was the person that was supposed to come here and cure all their face-off troubles and penalty kill troubles, and he gets hurt the first day of camp. And so it hasn't been a good start to the season. I think guys are starting to really try to do too much on the ice. They've come close the last couple games to getting themselves out of it and getting a win, and obviously lost both games in overtime. But at this point, it's not about the process anymore. They're at a tipping point. They got to get some W's.
Yeah, it is sadly at that point. And I would far be it from me to be presumptuous enough to tell you how to do your job, because nobody does it better than you do. But I'm hoping that you and Joe and whoever is covering this team on a given night, even if they hear a player, a Wild player, say, we really think we deserve to win or got the better of it, that you guys will dutifully, take the note as if you're writing it down and nod your head, but not include it in the story. Because, Russo, in all honesty, does it not reach a point where it's utterly meaningless, and I don't know why any fan would sit there and say, oh, okay, I feel a lot better now. That explains it. There's just not enough equity on this club to me to go down that road, even if on a given night there might be some truth to it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, almost beating the San Jose Sharks is not something to lay your hat on. And if you were the San Jose Sharks, there's time for moral victories. But right now, this team, this is not the way this season was supposed to start. Fans and this organization have been waiting for years for the buyout trouble to go away, and they come into this year and they win for 3 of their first 11 games. And what to me is more concerning is how they get out of this, because save for the Winnipeg game, which I think is a team that still probably lacks speed. The three games before that, Utah and San Jose and New Jersey really skated circles around them at times in those games and look like they are the younger, fresher legs. And the reality is that the Wild have married themselves to this core, and they have some young kids coming, but none of them are really high-end guys. So these players on the ice, when Bill Guerin says it's fixable, it has to be fixable through the team that he has constructed here. And right now, it looks like a lot of these teams are on the verge of sort of passing them by. And that's, look, there's a lot of reasons for that. The teams that have sort of had a huge young core, especially the ones like in Utah, these teams have been terrible for a long, long time and have gotten top 5 picks routinely, where the Wild never seem to get that. And, right now, as good as the Wild really believe their prospect pool is, if you look at anybody in their system, nobody is like a Macklin Celebrini or a Logan Cooley or a Dylan Gunther or JJ Peterka. They don't have that coming. And that's concerning, because a lot of these teams that have been terrible for a long time, we've seen Chicago get off to a great start. We've seen what Macklin Celebrini could do. We're going to see eventually what the byproduct of Anaheim. Detroit's gotten off to a really good start, even though it's a different conference. There's just a lot of teams here that have been able to, because they've been terrible, get these high picks. And I think it's, eventually that bill comes due. And I think the Wild's core have gotten, as they've just routinely gotten older, are starting to look that way on the ice.
What was the message that you took out of Guerin meeting with the captains? What was that all about?
I think it's kind of the complete opposite of what he did a couple years ago when he fired Dean. The Monday before we all went to Sweden, he went into the locker room and tore the paint off the wall, so to speak, and went one by one and just ripped into everybody. And you just knew at that point that Dean was really on a short leash, even though Billy was doing everything possible not to fire him. This time, I think he is realizing kind of what I just told you, is that the answers have to be in the room. So I think he's trying to, one, get information, but also, explain to these players just the urgency of the situation to get them out of it and how much they need all 3 of those guys, Kaprizov, Spurgeon, and Foligno, to play better. But also the fact that they are in this together and trying to find out what they could do to make it easier for this team to start winning. And so, obviously those are private conversations, and Bill didn't give me a big rundown of exactly what was said. I know, Spurgeon and Foligno, we've talked to them, and I've gotten sort of a gist of it. But I think it comes down to, again, what I've been saying is that I think that Bill came into this season thinking that they were going to be a really good team and that eventually he would accrue cap space and really go for that big fish in some sort of capacity in a trade. And I don't think he ever envisioned that he might have to make some trades to save the season. The reality, though, is I think that what that tells me is that Bill has done a lot of due diligence in the last couple of weeks to try to figure out what the landscape is out there. And not only is it hard to make a trade, there hasn't been a significant trade in the NHL in months. But I think he realizes that right now there's really no great players available. He's not going to trade for Nazem Kadri and take 3 years of a 35-year-old at $7 million. Nick Robertson might be available in Toronto, but this is a 24-year-old undersized winger that really is that the type of thing that's going to make an impact enough to save your season. Could he trade right now for probably 15 bottom,
right.
fourth line,
what's that do?
Group? What's that do? So I think he's realizing that there's at this juncture really nothing out there that is going to make the impact that this team needs. And when it comes down to it, especially when you look at that Winnipeg that game the other night, they need a save from Gustafsson. They're not getting it. Analytically, in 7 of the last 8 games, they've had the second best goalie on the ice between Gustafsson and Wallstedt and whoever they're playing against. That's not a good thing. The other night against Winnipeg, it was a 3-goal swing between the saved above expected for a guy like Hellebuck and Gustafsson. So he's got to be better. The San Jose game, Wallstedt's got to be better. Then your superstar. I mean, look, there's a lot of issues on this team right now, and I know that Wild fans seem to be sensitive to anybody criticizing Kirill, according to whenever we do it and the comments that we get back. But I'm sorry, like he's turning the puck over 10 times a game. And look, don't ever look at the giveaways on the stat sheet. I know that they have him like top 5 in the league with 19 giveaways. He's had 19 giveaways this week. It is not a stat that is recorded accurately in the National Hockey League. 2 games ago in San Jose, he turned the puck over twice for goals and once leading to a penalty that led to a goal. Last game in overtime, a blind pass in the neutral zone turned the game upside down. Power plays almost every single night are ended because he's turning the puck over on an east to west play in the high slot that is clearly starting to be anticipated by penalty kills because they're picking him off constantly in games. And he just is a player. I mean, like a lot of Russian players that likes to play an east-west brand of hockey, but it's starting to become problematic when you can't stop a puck. And right now, the Wild are one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They've trailed more than every team in the league but one. And so, when you're not good defensively or you're struggling to that point, you've got to play a simple game and try to eke out some victories and be careful with the puck. And he's not doing it right now. So, again, I don't mean to just pick on him. There's a lot of problems on this team. Foligno hasn't been good. Spurgeon hasn't been great. There's a lot of passengers right now. Yakov Trenyan, I'm not positive exactly what he's doing out there. There's a lot of issues. But Kirill, like it or not, when you are now the highest paid player in the NHL for a long, long time and by a wide margin, the standard is higher for you. And he's got to be better than he's been. He's got to be better at even strength offensively, and he's certainly got to be better defensively and taking care of the puck.
Yeah, I was chuckling listening to you talking about, especially about doing the little things defensively and so forth when you don't have much margin for error. And I admit this is silly sentimentality. But I got triggered when Lemaire, part of the 25th anniversary stuff, when he came back, I got triggered. I'm not lying to you. I'm going, he's got that unmistakable grin, that look that he has on his face. He's aged a little, but he still looks pretty much the same. Still, to me, sounds the same. And I'm going, I told Louie, I said, no offense on Hines. This isn't even about Hines at all. But if you could hire an 80-year-old coach and he'd be willing to do it, I'd do it in a minute because I do hearken back to that time because you did at least feel like then they may not have been interesting to watch, but that they knew their limitations and he had a standard, and by God, they were going to have to abide by it. I miss Lemaire.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he doesn't want to do it, so
right.
It's moot. That's not happening.
No.
But you're right. I mean, that opening night, he must have had a heart attack watching that
Good point.
Just the way the Wild were. Look, I think Falmouth had Marian Gaborik on the pod the other day, and Gaborik said it's the best. And remember, they had their battles. I mean, there's a lot of people that felt that Lemaire is the reason why Gaborik maybe didn't hit that 50-goal mark routinely or 40 more than the one time he did in this organization, that he was, had the handcuffs on him. And yet when Falmouth asked him about Lemaire, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Falmouth, if I'm misquoting him, but he said he's the best coach he's ever had. And this is a guy that won a cup in L.A. and has had a lot of good coaches in the National Hockey League. So I think that says a lot. And it's the age-old, how many times do you talk to a professional athlete years and years and years after their ending, their career ends, and they realize, that guy that really rode me hard was actually the best thing that ever happened to me and helped me learn about life and the game. And that's what Jacques did. And you're right. I mean, they've had a lot of great teams here since Jacques as well. And Mike Yeo is the only coach in Wild history that got them past the first round twice. And they were a really good defensive team under Mike. And but I think what's perplexing about the last 3 years with the Wild is that this organization has always been a really good home team and a really good penalty killing team. And the Wild have been a really awful home team the last 3 years. And their penalty kill is beyond god awful. And the thing that concerned me the last game here that we're seeing now is empty seats. This has not been a fun place to watch the Wild play for too long here. They were one of the best road teams in the league last year, but a really mediocre home team until the end of the season. And fans here are starting to get tired of coming out here and not having fun and not seeing victories. And last game, the amount of empty seats in the upper bowl was very, very concerning. And so, and that was a game where, Gaborik and Bouchard and Ralston and Veilleux came back and that wasn't enough to sell the place out. So, this team, to start off a 6-game homestand after such a bad road trip with no victories so far in 3 games is very, very concerning.
What else do we need to know about the Pens, tonight's opponent?
Well, they're playing well, and Sidney Crosby always turns back the clock. It's not like this is a resurgence of him. He's had an unbelievable start to the year, 16 points, 15 points in 11 games. Malkin is the one that's absolutely turned back the clock. This is somebody that the last 2 or 3 years really looked like he's slowing down. Well, he leads the league in assists and has 16 points in 11 games. How about this one for you? Matt Dumba's in the lineup. Connor Dure's in the lineup. But the one guy that has had a great start for the Pittsburgh Penguins is Justin Brazeau, the Wild's trade deadline pickup last year that really wasn't very good here. And, why was he not very good here? Well, he's not a checker. He's a scorer. He's always been a scorer. He was a scorer in juniors. He was a scorer at times in Boston. Well, the Wild acquired him to put on the fourth line, and he just didn't have that type of impact. Well, now he's playing with Malkin, and he has 6 goals and 12 points in 11 games. So Brazeau is just put in a position that he wasn't able to play here because of the Wild's top 6. But it also shows that when you make a trade deadline pickup, you can't just... as I wrote the other day about David Juracek, a leopard doesn't change his spots. Brazeau might be huge, but he's not a checker. He doesn't hit. He scores. And David Juracek, same thing. At 6'4", he's one hit this season. He's not the type of player that's going to add a lot of physicality on a blue line that has no physicality or little physicality. So there's some issues right now in this Wild lineup.
Have fun tonight. Good checking in with you as always. We'll chat next week and say hi to Fallness. Tell them that the sound quality I thought was superb today.
You're welcome, everybody.
Did a great job. Guardsy did a great job.
The adult's back.
Yeah, it's about time. It just shows that you can't take any time off, Guardsy.
It's job security. It's job security. I got to let other people try to do what I do and make it seem so easy, so difficult. I have to come back.
Yeah. They can't do it without you.
If I sounded like I was in a phone booth, there's no doubt you would have said something. But apparently that was fine with Blakemore.
He was probably watching Jordan Love highlights and wasn't even listening.
That's a good point.
Very possible. Thanks, man. Be good.
All right, see it.
Russo Radio.
Thanks, everybody.
It used to be called the X. What's it called now?
Grand Casino.
Have we shortened that to anything yet? That's
some people have. It's not appropriate for a family-friendly radio show.
I have heard that one, yes.
Shout out to 10,000 Takes.
That's very true.
Our guys.
Is there a clean, shortened one yet? No.
Not really. You can call it the Grand if you want.
I guess you can call it the Grand, yeah. That's very, very true. How can there be empty seats in the state of hockey? Good question. I don't know. I mean, I like to think, actually, it means the state of hockey is finally trying to adhere to some standards and saying, come on, guys, let's get this thing going. Who's to say? It's
also tryout season for all the youth teams, so we're busy. All we hockey families, and I'm in that. All us hockey families, we've got stuff to do.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. A couple quick texts here. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and break, and then we'll have one more segment. We're out early today for Vikings programming, followed by, as should be apparent by now, Minnesota Wild Hockey hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins. Back in a minute.
Fan and 2 men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. Final keyword of the evening is check. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword check. The show wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper show wrap.
Vikings podcast is preempting the rest of this show, or at least much of it, and that'll be followed by Minnesota Wild Hockey on the Fan. The four we mentioned moments ago, the Penguins, the opponent. We'll see if the Wild can get something going tonight. Friday, of course, is the Football Beast. Picks with Gerby, Ben Gessling, and Lavelle are all on the docket for tomorrow's broadcast. I intended, as we say, thank you very much to Mike Conley, who joined at 4:30. We say thank you very much to Sean Salisbury, who joined at 3:30. And thank you to Russo Radio, who joined from the Fallness studio moments ago. That I really wanted to spend a little more time on this University of Minnesota kerfuffle. I have not found myself over the years necessarily defending the University of Minnesota all that much. I've piled on when they've been vulnerable. But I am perplexed at this notion that the University of Minnesota is somehow obligated to take care of every high school graduation in a 6-state area. I don't know where you are on this subject, but they made the big announcement, and people are jolted. I mean, here they're jolted. I mean, I'm hearing these comebacks like, how dare they? What's wrong with them? That's their responsibility. Who decided it's their responsibility? Is the story that they're telling accurate? I don't know. Basically, what the university is saying is it's too much. It's too much stress over too short a period of time. Yeah, we make a little bit of money off of it. I think they make, according to the story, it's like $2,000, $20,000 total. Okay, I don't know what that is per graduation. Wow. That's a decent amount of money.
That's not a lot.
But it's not enough for me, and I'm assuming also they've got, just because there were were there shootings once or twice?
I thought just at the White Saddle one. Yeah.
That means that's going to happen all the time. But in their mind, they say, we don't need that headache. We don't need, because let's be clear about something. If there's another problem like that, we even heard it then. But if it happens again, guess who's going to get ripped? Where's your security? University of Minnesota. So how did graduation get so out of control that the parents, grandparents, uncles, cousins, distant cousins, friends all decide they have a right to be there, and by God, you're not going to stop me.
Takes a village.
I'm sorry. I do not find this as scandalous as other people do, and I don't know what their real reasoning is, but I think they have a right, because how many of these are we doing? They're doing a bunch of these because
all the big schools
are doing it, and it's convenient. They've been there, but because they've made themselves available, I don't think that means that they're obligated to continue to make themselves available. Sorry. Go back to how about this novel concept? Go back to doing it in your high schools. And if you have to limit because you've got bigger enrollments, limit it. It's going to be okay. In all honesty, the most boring thing to go through is graduation. It is. It's not even. And
I only graduated once, so
that's true.
I remember.
That's a good point.
But no, you're right.
I guess I've read so many people are like, what are they doing? How dare they? Do you realize the difficult position this puts a lot of these school districts? Tough. Deal with it. Be inventive. Be creative. Why does the University of Minnesota have to bail them out? Or am I being too easy on the University of Minnesota, which is rare for me?
No, because there's also some places have used U.S. Bank. I think Minnetonka, our high school's done that a few times. Yeah. There's other options. There's plenty of other options, and they just don't want to deal with the headache. That's their business. I would also say they should never have allowed Lakeville North to have graduation there. They can go do it in Madison. If they want to have their graduate, because it's convenient. You can
don't tempt them.
You could do move-in weekend.
They might.
Just bring all your stuff, and all the graduates can just go there.
This is for you, by the way. Deer Lodge, Montana is a real place. Not everyone lives in Edina.
Okay.
It's just saying.
All right, that's what we're doing.
You just thought it was too exotic.
It's so mythical. It sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Deer Lodge, Montana.
I want to visit Deer Lodge, Montana. Yeah. It sounds incredible.
It might be a good place to visit. I don't know.
Apologies to the Deer Lodge, Montana community for doubting them. Who knew?
Yeah, I had no idea. But have you noticed the blowback, the pushback on this?
I've just noticed that the fact that there's a big story about it and that it's one of the most read, I think tells you. Yeah.
I just don't understand it.
Especially for that little income.
There's plenty of stuff to criticize. Yeah, it's not that much money. And by the way, even though we've not exactly had an endless number of shootings, I'll be honest with you. If you already aren't sure you got the manpower to devote to taking care, to dealing with the numbers that attend these events, right? If you have, and you have to have some responsibility, it's at the University of Minnesota. If you already have some concerns about this being out of control, I have no problem if it only took one shooting incident and they say, you know what, we don't need this. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't mean we are assuming that every time something like this is going to happen, but I can see a school saying,
we're good.
This is something we're not required to do. There's a lot of stuff we are required to do, which we do, whether we like it or not, because we have to. This ain't it. We don't need that headache because, as I said, if there's another incident and it's as bad or, God forbid, worse, believe me, the same people who are whining now about, hey, we should be able to send 17 relatives to my little kid Johnny's graduation will be saying, where's the security? How does this get this out of control? So I don't think the university has anything to apologize for in this case. Nothing.
A lot of these big schools, I know it's hard to do outdoors because weather's unpredictable, but just do it at your own football stadium.
Exactly.
It's June, right?
There's a million ways, I think, even at bigger schools, I think you can find ways to do. And what I love about this is now they're going to have to.
You do have to make the cut when you do it in an indoor building.
You should.
I remember how tight it was, making the tough decision on which aunts and uncles got to use our 6 tickets or whatever it was for graduation.
Something has again happened culturally about this event. I'm not criticizing the event. I'm not pretending that it is not an important rite of passage. But there's something that's gotten grandfathered in, again, which is everybody gets to go. That I should have that right. And once upon a time, for whatever reason, I'd like to think, I don't remember these same problems, in part because every aunt and uncle, every Tom, Dick, and Harry didn't say, you're not stopping me from going to see my distant cousin graduate. In all honesty, I think back then, a lot of these relatives were relieved that they couldn't go. They said, well, okay, that's nice, it's cute, we're happy that he graduated, but
we'll be at the party.
We'll be at the party, and it's not that big a deal to actually have to attend the event.
I'll actually tell you, there's a lot of relatives right now that are relieved that they might have to go back. They go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's no tickets?
Oh, no, not that. What? How about that?
Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
And it's not because they don't love their niece or nephew.
No, it's not that
They'll
at
be
all.
at the party.
It's fine. We don't need every form of inflation. This is a graduation inflation is out of control. I think these schools should actually be thanking the U because it's going to force them, A, to either be creative or B, say, we're just cutting back. We out of necessity, this is just what we're going to have to do. And you know what? Everybody will be fine. Like you said, they can all show up at the party.
Yeah, live stream it, too.
That's where the food is, right?
It is,
and
usually.
you live stream it.
Yeah,
they usually do that kind of stuff. And everything is good. And, so I don't know. I guess I was just stunned that it has become such a massive talking point. The statement from
do you think there'll be protesters from high schoolers at the game this weekend? Like I'm going to be doing the show on Oak Street, the Gopher pregame show at 12:30 against Michigan State right here on the Fan, and I'm going to be fighting off Minnetonka, Edina, Wayzata, Mounds View, Woodbury protesters.
It's possible.
I'll be ready
for sure. Hosting more than 20 outside events with thousands of attendees over a 2-week period represents a significant strain on the university's limited resources that is no longer sustainable. Could they be fudging on that? Could they? Possibly. But that doesn't sound like that's such an outlandish statement to me.
Well, I assume they're talking about security for sure.
It has to be part of it.
A lot of, and especially like right now, a lot of the security people I know at Huntington Bank, it's the same company that works at Mariucci, that works at Williams. Like, they work a lot.
Absolutely.
And I imagine that this is a way to give them a break, too.
Bunch of shrieking aunts and uncles and parents who refuse to abide by the rules, which is say, don't go crazy when your kid gets announced. Yeah, maybe if people would comport themselves better, you would say, yeah, let's do it. Any excuse I would have to get out of it, I'd have no problem. I'm on the U side on this one, and as I said, that's fairly rare.
I'm going to invite you to our kids. I'll give you one of the tickets.
There you go. Yeah. Just a hoot and holler. Vikings podcast, then Minnesota Wild Hockey, and the Beast, the Friday Football Beast tomorrow at 3. We'll talk to you then.